How are you guys?
Hi, teacher.
Morning, Dina. Okay, guys. So remember today's our practice session. We are gonna be practicing task number 2 of the speaking section, the one we did yesterday. Do you remember what you had to do for this task? Does anyone remember? What did you guys have to do for this one?
Answer questions about a university in the US.
Okay, but they don't ask you questions about university in the US, right? They give you a text to read and you have to listen to a conversation, right? And then what do? You answer the question, but asks you to summarize what you heard and what you read, right? So that's what we're gonna be practicing today. Okay, we're gonna start with this one here. Remember, how many seconds do you have to read a text?
45.
45, exactly. So you will have 45 seconds to read this announcement. Please, you may begin now. Right? The man expresses his opinion of beauty. Also, you haven't.
I don't like the university's plan.
Really? I've ridden those buses, and sometimes there were only a few people on the bus. It did seem like kind of a waste.
I see your point, but I think the problem is the route's out of date. It only goes through the neighborhoods that have gotten too expensive for students to live in. It's ridiculous that they haven't already changed the route, so it goes where most off-campus students live now. I bet if they did that, they'd get plenty of students riding those buses.
Well, at least they're adding more parking. It's gotten really tough to find a space.
That's the other part I don't like, actually. Cutting back the bus service and adding parking's just going to encourage more students to drive on campus. And that'll just add to the noise around campus and create more traffic. And that'll increase the need for more parking spaces.
Yeah, I guess I can see your point. Maybe it would be better if more students used the buses instead of driving.
Right. And the university should make it easier to do that, not harder.
Okay. The man expresses his opinion of the university's plan to eliminate the bus service, state his opinion, and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. You will now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So, is there anyone who would like to go first? I can try first. Who wants to try first? Maybe Ricardo? Do you mind going first? Yes, Ricardo?
Teacher, I don't have the answer.
Why not? Why don't you have the answer? What do you mean?
Yeah, I entered the class later.
Okay,
Oh, late. Sorry, late.
okay. Then maybe Valentina?
Teacher, I'm not sure because at the beginning I understood that he was against, but before I heard that he was like in favor, so I'm not sure.
Okay. So, okay. So let's just review a little bit the first one together. So remember here we need to identify three things. What are those things? Change and tourism, right? So what's happening? What is the change here? I think it's pretty obvious. They are planning on eliminating the bus service, so they want to shut it down, eliminate the bus service. Now, why? What's the first reason?
Because there's a few students that ride the buses, and also the buses are expensive.
Exactly. So yeah. So according to their reading, only a few students take the bus, and that is inefficient, right? They're expensive. And what was the second reason?
Maybe that the money of the bus service will be used to expand the overcrowded student parking lots.
Exactly. So another reason why they would do this is because they're gonna use this money that they're saving. They're gonna use it to expand the parking lots. Right? Now, if we listen to the conversation, we're gonna play maybe the. Okay, let's listen to it entirely again.
I don't like the university's plan.
Really? I've ridden those buses, and sometimes there were only a few people on the bus. It did seem like kind of a waste.
I see your point, but I think the problem is the route's out of date. It only goes through the neighborhoods that have gotten too expensive for students to live in. It's ridiculous that they haven't already changed the route, so it goes where most off-campus students live now. I bet if they did that, they'd get plenty of students riding those buses.
Well, at least they're adding more parking. It's gotten really...
Okay, so there we have the student's opinion, and he starts by saying it, right? Was it the male or the female student that had the opinion?
The male,
Exactly. So it was the guy, and he starts by saying, I don't like this idea. And he gives his first reason, right? Which is related to the first reason given in the reading. So in the reading, they said that it is not efficient to run the buses, they're expensive, and only a few students are using them. So in the listening, the student responds to that. And the student says, what does it say? What does the student say about that? Ivan, do you know what he says? Were you there to hear?
Um, uh, the real cause of many students not using the bus is due to the bus route.
Exactly. Great, Ivan, thanks. So yeah, that's totally true. So a student says that the reason why only a few students use the buses, take the buses, is not because they don't want, but because of the rules. According to him, the rules are not up to date, right? They're outdated. And the buses go to places where you don't have really students living there. So it's like a waste, right? They should be going to maybe to the neighborhoods where most students will leave off campus live. Now, the second reason here in the reading is that the money that they're gonna save, they're gonna use it to expand the parking lots, right? So let's hear what the student has to say about that.
More parking. It's gotten really tough to find a space.
That's the other part I don't like, actually. Cutting back the bus service and adding parking's just going to encourage more students to drive on campus. And that'll just add to the noise around campus and create more traffic. And that'll increase the need for more parking spaces.
Yeah, I guess I can see your point. Maybe it would be better if more students used the buses instead of driving.
Right. And the university should make it easier to do that, not harder.
Right, so what does he think about the university expanding the parking lots?
Maybe by eliminating the bus service, the students will be able to drive more and it will cause more traffic.
Yeah, perfect. So yes, the student says that by doing this, they are encouraging the students to drive, and therefore you will have more students driving, which is going to create more traffic and more noise, and it isn't something convenient, right? You should be actually encouraging students to use the bus service instead of encouraging them to drive. That's it. And what you had to do was pretty simple, right? We did some samples yesterday. So now you need to put everything together in the template, focusing more on the student, focusing on the conversation. You're not really gonna talk explicitly about what the reading said, but instead you will focus more on the student's part of it. So you will start by giving his opinion. The student in conversation is against the idea of shutting down the bus service. First of all, he explains that the reason why most students don't take the bus is because of the routes, they're out of date. So in order to solve the problem, they should change it to places where most students live. In addition, then you go with the second reason. He believes that if they actually did this, they will be encouraging students to drive more, create more traffic and more noise, and that is inconvenient. They should instead be encouraging them or making it easier for students to take the buses, right? And that's it. That is what you guys needed to do, right? Do you remember now? Go with your introduction. You mentioned the opinion, you mentioned the change, summarize the two reasons, and you guys are done. Do you have any questions now? Is it all clear? Okay, perfect. So now let's start practicing. We'll do another one and you guys will join. Okay. We'll do the same. Remember that you get 45 seconds to read. So starting now, you will have 45 seconds to read this announcement. Right? So please, I'm gonna ask you to turn your cameras on. David sent me a text and he won't be able to turn his camera on, but everybody else should be with their cameras on and their name, right? Because otherwise, how are we gonna practice? If you're not there, then you guys won't practice and hear feedback. So let's start with Ivan. You there?
Yes.
Okay, if you please could turn your camera on. Okay, thank you so much, Ivan. Now, please, you may start speaking. Oh, sorry, we still need to hear, right? So, but everyone else, please turn your cameras on.
Now listen to two students discussing the announcement.
Do you believe any of this? It's ridiculous.
What do you mean? Well, it is important to eat healthy foods.
Sure it is. But they're saying yogurt's better for you than an omelet or than hot cereal? I mean, whether something's hot or cold, that shouldn't be the issue. Except maybe on a really cold morning. In that case, which is going to be better for you, a bowl of cold cereal or a nice warm omelet? It's obvious. There's no question.
No, I'm not going to argue with you there.
And this whole thing about saving money.
What about it?
Well, they're actually going to make things worse for us, not better. Because if they start cutting back and we can't get what we want right here on campus, well, we're going to be going off campus and pay off-campus prices. And you know what? That'll be expensive. Even if it's only 2 or 3 mornings a week, it can add up.
Okay, good question. The woman expresses her opinion of the change that has been announced, state her opinion, and explain her reasons for holding that opinion. We now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so please, Ivan, you may start speaking now.
Okay. In the conversation, a woman thinks it's not a good idea to remove this option from their menu. Here's first reason is that it's not true that cool breakfast foods are much healthier than hot breakfast stuff. Mm, During the season when the weather is cold, there's not a doubt that hot breakfast items are better. Um, and the second reason is that the change would not help students save money because students would be forced to eat at the stores outside the school where the price for food is higher.
Okay, great, Ivan, thank you, that was nice. So honestly, I liked the content of your response. You were able to identify both reasons. You explained the first, whether something hot, that's really determine how healthy it is. And then second, and I like personally how you contrasted the information, right? You said, uh, this change will not help students save money because, so implicitly you're mentioning what the reason that the university gave was. And it was a great explanation as well. So maybe some tips I can give you, try not to say things like her first reason is, her second reason is, the change is. Because that kind of it makes it look like you prepared your response, right? So you already knew the structure. It needs to maybe to not enough improvised. So you use a template, and if not, you can change the words, right? You can say first and second, or you can say to start and moreover. But instead of saying the second reason, the first reason, try to use transitions. That's good for connecting and good for vocabulary as well. And careful with the pronouns, right? Remember, in this case, it was so always write down the pronoun she and her, maybe in big letters, but don't forget when you speak. And in any case, if you forget the pronoun, then just say the student, right? And then know what it is. So those would be some tips. But well done, because honestly, the content was really good. Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions so far? Okay, so let's take a look at this one here. It'll be the same. You will get 45 seconds to prepare your responses.
Now listen to two students discussing the article.
I just don't think this will work
Why not?
because it's not going to solve the problem. Students are busy at night. I mean, we have jobs, families, clubs, social events. Most of us already have something to do every single night of the week.
I see your point. I sure couldn't fit anything into my schedule during the week. I've got swimming practice most nights.
Right. And as far as expense goes, I think they're going about it the wrong way. I mean, it costs money to hire more teachers and keep the academic building open later, which is a lot more expensive than just simply buying more computers.
More computers?
That's right. Computer prices have come way down the past few years, so the department won't have to spend as much now as they did in the past. Besides, the computer department classrooms, the rooms themselves, they're actually very big. There's plenty of space to add more computers.
Computer department is considering a scheduling change. Explain the man's opinion of the change and the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. We'll now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so Evelyn, are you there? No. What about you, Henry? Are you there? Okay, so please, Valentina, you may go now.
Okay, teacher. The student in the conversation is against the idea of scheduling change of the computer class. First of all, he explains that a lot of students won't have the time to take the classes in the evening because they have other activities like work or other classes like swimming. In addition, he believes that adding more computers in the class will be more effective because the room has a lot of space. And those are the reasons why he's against this idea. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, but no, don't worry, that was great. So, I mean, of course, that extra time, maybe you could have explained a little bit more the reasons, but it's okay because otherwise maybe you would have been redundant if you just try to force yourself to say something else. I wouldn't really say anything about that. I like the way that you summarized both reasons. It was concise, it was direct, and it was there what was required to say, all the relevant things. And yeah, I like the fact that you used the conclusion, maybe to try to continue speaking as well as you could. You even gave details, like examples of the activities or the classes they had in the evenings. So, so no comments. Great, well done, Martina. Okay, guys. So, same, you will have 45 seconds to prepare your responses here.
Did you see that article?
Yeah, and it sounds like a great idea. It's really good for the students in that program.
Don't they cook in class anyway?
Well, yeah, they do. But my cousin was in the program a few years ago, and she said that it's very different to cook for a lot of people in that kind of atmosphere than to cook for classmates.
Why is that?
Well, in class, you can take your time, but cooking for more people, there's more pressure. I mean, you're in a rush, people are waiting, and it might be easy to make a mistake with all that stress.
Then they'll think you're a bad chef, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, it's good practice. But what about the extra cost?
Well, look at it this way. You've eaten at some of the fancier restaurants in town, right?
Yeah, there are some great places to eat around here.
Well, these students, they'll be making fantastic meals, and it's going to be cheaper than going out to one of those restaurants.
Much cheaper, actually.
So, it'll be worth it. The meals will be as good as the ones in those expensive restaurants.
The man expresses his opinion about the university's plan, states his opinion, and explains the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. You will now get 30 seconds to prepare your responses. So, Ricardo, please. You may start speaking now.
Well, the student in this conversation supports the idea of cooking special meals. Uh, First of all, he explains that this is a great idea because it's very different to cook for more people than cooking for classmates. Also, because you cook under pressure, and this means you cannot make mistakes. On the other hand, he believes that cooking this way will be cheaper because many students are not able to go to fancy restaurants where food is really expensive. So this could be a chance for them to eat good and cheaper.
Okay, great. That's good. Okay, nice. So I liked your response. I don't have any comments really. You had the correct change. So the woman or the man is in favor of the idea of the students cooking for their classmates. You had the two reasons. It's different. The experience is different because for your classmates or for a lot of people, they work under pressure. And the second idea too, that it will be expensive. So I really have no comments, and I like your grammar personally. One thing that I personally liked about your response is the way that you use different modal verbs, which is a suggestion always. So you use could, will, and those are good. Maybe you could use even more, right? There are more like might, may, even conditionals for the grammar part. That was really well done. Very good.
Thanks, teacher.
Yes. Do you have any questions so far? You think okay? Great. So another one. Okay. So we'll do the same thing here. 45 seconds to prepare you to read the articles.
Now listen to two students discussing the university's plan.
This article? Are they serious?
Yeah, I think so. Why?
Well, first of all, a lot of kids aren't looking for a relaxing break at lunchtime. They like to study while they eat, especially if they have exams coming up or some assignment they have to get done.
Yeah, that's true.
And now they won't be able to concentrate. This is going to be very distracting.
Okay. Yeah, I see your point.
And second, most students don't like classical music.
It's certainly not what I listen to.
So are people going to stop listening to their own music?
No.
I think people are going to be even more likely to bring their MP3 player, to play their own music and block out the classical stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The man expresses his opinion about the university's plan, state his opinion, and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. You now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. So, Ana Micaela, are you there?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, please, you may start speaking now.
Okay. Students that are discussion, they are against the ideas of include classical music in the meal time because it's and the first reason because they are against it is because he believes that the music can be distraction for the students because they use that time to make in some homeworks. And the second reason is because a lot of students don't like it and don't like the classical music. And in essential, that is the reason because they feel of that way.
Okay, great. That is the reason why they feel that way, right? Not because.
Just
So, well done. The content was great. You mentioned both reasons. The first one was really well explained particularly. So, we have instruction for some students because they use this time to complete assignments to study. The second one, maybe you could have explained a bit more to show the connection that there is between the reading and the listening, right? Because the reading says that they are doing this since they want students to connect more. And you said, which is correct, right? You said that there's a lot of students that don't like classical music. But let's look at it. Since they don't like classical music, they're more likely to play their own music and actually they won't connect with each other, right? Which is what the university wants. So maybe a bit more explanation in the second one. And careful with two things. One, make sure that you follow the template. Don't tell me the first reason, the second reason, but instead use other transitions, right? First, second, to start. And remember that in this conversation, we're only focusing on one student because the question says, talk about the men only, right? Don't use the pronoun they. Don't talk about the two students that you heard in the conversation. Only talk about the guy in this case. So talk about him on, right? So instead of they are against, tell me he is against. We deal with it. Okay? Is that okay? Do you have any questions?
everything's clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's do this one here. Same thing, you will have 45 seconds to read the article.
Two students discussing the announcement.
Read this announcement?
Yeah, and I disagree. I don't think it will actually help students.
Really? Why not?
Well, they talked about leadership and organizational skills, but that's not really the kind of work you do. Like my older brothers have the kind of jobs they're talking about, and typically you're just there to do basic tasks like typing or filing stuff. Nothing very meaningful.
Oh, so you wouldn't actually learn anything new.
Exactly.
I guess I see what you mean. But what about the other point they make?
About this helping us after we graduate? I don't agree.
How come?
Well, the problem is that there are lots of other universities in our area that have the same requirement, so there are lots of other students at these positions.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of that.
So even if you take a position like this in a company while you're still a student, once you graduate, the competition for permanent jobs will be impossible. I mean, there just won't be enough jobs available for all the business graduates in the city who will be looking for full-time work.
I see what you're saying.
The woman expresses their opinion of the university's new policy, state her opinion, and explain the reason she gives following that opinion. We now have 30 seconds to prepare your responses. Right? So would that be Petra? Um, Ben, are you there? Right, and who's usuario es Zoom? Please, Valentina, you can go ahead.
Okay. The student in the conversation is against the required work experience. First of all, because she thinks that students will be doing basic tasks in that business. And in addition, she believes that other universities have the same position and also the same strategy to make students go to work and gain maybe experience. And when they end the university, they also will be competing with other students for getting a job. And that's why she is against this idea.
Exactly. So they will be competing with other students, and at the end of the day, this won't help them secure a job. I don't think. Okay, great. Love your response. Maybe there wasn't a balance. The second one was longer than the first. You could have explained the first one a little bit more. But it was okay. The necessary information was there. The only thing careful in the beginning in the introduction is that against the woman in the conversation is against the required work experience, right? Which is the title. But remember, you say it's against the idea of requiring work experience, right? Or you could say it's against the new policy too. But yeah, if you're gonna use against the idea of with ing. Okay, right? Look at this one. Same thing, starting now, you will have 45 seconds to read the article.
Now listen to two students discussing the letter.
Mary, you're an art student. What do you think of this letter?
I don't like the idea.
Why not?
Well, first of all, his first point about a lot of people passing through the student center, that's true, but it's always really crowded with people coming and going. It's not good for showing artwork. Imagine you're standing there, trying to look at a painting. There's going to be like a million people walking through. People walking in front of you, blocking your view, distracting you.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
You won't be able to appreciate the artwork or get a good look at anything with so much going on, with so many people moving around.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Plus, he's wrong about the windows.
But isn't it true that it's good for art to have lots of light?
In a sense, yeah. But that kind of light, all that natural light from windows, that's actually not good. Because if it's really sunny out, it'll be way too bright. If it's cloudy, it'll be way too dark.
Oh.
What you want is controlled light, consistent light, the kind you get from electric light bulbs. Think about in an art museum. In an art museum, you've got electric lighting, and the light is always carefully controlled, always at the same level.
Briefly summarize the proposal in the student's letter, then state your opinion about the proposal and explain the reasons you give for holding that opinion. Now you will get 30 seconds so that you can prepare your answer. Okay, so is there anyone who would like to go? So try. Anyone? Very good. Okay,
I can do it, teacher.
thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. The student in this conversation is against the idea of the lobby displaying the paints and filled with natural light. First of all, she explains that it the lobby is not a good place for showing the art because a lot of people move around it and they block the view. In addition, she believes that the light doesn't support the paints that are going to be featured in this lobby. So she considers that electric light suits better in this type of halls, just like in art museums. She doesn't like the natural light or dark light.
Okay, great. Nice. So you summarized them well. You didn't include the details, but they weren't really relevant to the reasons. So great, you mentioned both of them, people move around the lobby too much. And electric light would be better. And you had the correct changes. Means showcasing the artwork in the lobby, right? So I don't have any comments. I was gonna say something. Careful the word paint or paintings, remember it's not the same. So when we talk about art, we can say paintings. And in the beginning, in the introduction, try not to include anything that is related to the reasons. So here you said it's against the idea of displaying the artwork in the lobby with all of its natural light. But that is part of the reason already. Right? So careful there, don't put anything from the reasons, and it'll be perfect. Thank you, Ricardo. What do you guys think? How do you feel? Do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? Anything before? Okay. No questions, no comments? Well, in that case, please don't forget to fill out today's survey. Actually, please don't go yet. We have to complete 2 surveys today. I just sent you guys the first one, and as soon as you're done, I'll be sending the other one out. Okay, so please don't go yet. There's one more that we have to. Okay. Please, everyone has to fill it out. I think I'm missing 2 answers. Okay, thank you so much. And now the other one, please. And then you can go. Thank you so much for joining today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll be covering the speaking task number 3. So make sure you join. Bye bye guys, take care.
Teacher, I have a call at 9. I don't know if
Oh
I'm
yes,
going.
please can you join the other link, the usual link? The one for the meeting? Or I can send it to you right now.
Okay, thanks, teacher.
Hang on, don't leave yet. I'm gonna send you the link first. Please check.